Oh, it's 1:15. The show has officially begun. Welcome to the CFJ Coaching Success School show. And it is Tuesday. It is May 11th. Long live SpongeBob. Thank you, Eric Woodard, who's going to be joining the 2022 CFJ Coaching Success School show, which is super exciting. And we're not going to talk about SpongeBob today. We are going to talk about creating more of your business and connecting and nurturing people and the difference between a short game and a long game. So that's important. And we're going to be doing all that today. And one thing that I want to get in on is to start to talk about somebody had written to me with a question. Hey, Francine, you're here. Someone had written to me with a question of what do you do when a client sort of decides you're a couple sessions in and they're like, I'm done, thanks, but no thanks. Tammy Scott, welcome. What do you do? And the person sounds like they are reluctant to even get on the phone and complete. So I'm going to share a brief story, and then we might even manage to get someone who's going to join us today, like live, like with me here. So that is something I'm waiting on. If that person is listening and is ready, you just know what to do. So here's the thing. I once enrolled someone when my fees were $6,000 for 6 months. I think it was $6,000 for 6 months. This amazing person who I knew from another community I belong to. Mark, glad you're here. And I got this message from her, like we had done 1 or 2 sessions, if that. And I got this message from her that was basically like, Carolyn, I can't do this anymore. I'm not going to be able to continue working with you. Thank you so much. Click. I was surprised, to say the least, and I didn't know what to do. I never had that happen. I didn't know, I didn't understand what was happening. I was out of town when the call came in, and I remember I was at a park in Washington, D.C. And I was at a park, and I remember talking to Steve, and I said, what do I do? What do I do here? And he said, what can you do? Like, you can try to get a hold of her, but I don't know if there's anything you can do. So I got a hold of her, and what do I do? I said, what do I do here? And he said, what can you do? Like, you can try to get a hold of her, but I don't know if there's anything you can. I think you have to turn there you go. Is everyone seeing who I'm seeing? So some of you may not know who this person is. I am so excited to have her join us. This is an extraordinary coach. Her name is Terita Preston. She is a coach in the CFJ Coaching Success School right now. She has been a coach in the school for, this is your 3rd year, right?
Yeah, it's my 3rd year.
3rd year. So Terita, I wanted Terita to come on for so many reasons, but I'm going to finish the story because I know she'll laugh at it. And and then Terita and I are going to talk with each other, because Terita she has so much to share, and I can't wait for her to get to answer some of your questions. So here's this person, right? So Terita, I don't know if you remember, I ever shared this in the school. This person paid me $6,000, and then I got the cryptic, like, I can't do this anymore. And I thought, well, what do I do? Like, I have to, this is so hard. What am I going to do? I wrote to her. I called her. Nothing. Like radio silence. And now in my agreements by then, I already had an agreement that if you quit, you don't get a refund. But I had all these feelings, right? I was like, and guess what? I never heard from her again. And it's kind of crazy, but sometimes this happens. Sometimes people just go away. They bail, and I'll never know why this person bailed, and it's okay. Like I realized, like, it wasn't me. I didn't do anything wrong. So I want to do a bigger introduction of Terita Preston because Terita, I think, has lots of stories where she thought she was doing something wrong for a long, long time. And Terita came to the first CFJ Coaching Success School 3 years ago. And at that time, Terita, what was your coaching practice like?
So I started coaching full-time June of 2018, meaning I left my corporate job, was like, I'm going to be one of these six-figure coaches, and quickly realized I didn't know what I was doing. So from June 2018 until December of 2018, we started the school in January of 2019, I made $20,000. And that $20,000 came in December. So it was like 6 months of work to lead to the 20K.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it would be so helpful for everyone to hear, like, your first year, like, of doing this full time. Like, just share about what the thoughts were, what the feelings were. Even being in the school, there was still a lot of like, wow. So just share a little bit about that.
It's so, I guess, like, everyone kept saying, oh, you have to be of service, of serving. And I didn't know what serving was. Like, I started noticing serving had a lot of depth and layers. That was it's work, right? And it was, how do I talk to people? What do I say? How do I speak my fees? What fees should I be? What should my fees be? And then there would be other coaches who I perceived as better, smarter than just playing a bigger game than I did. So I didn't necessarily want to raise my hand all the time. It was rough. And this is how I felt in CFJ. So when I was not in CFJ, I had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
No idea.
Right. And I so appreciate that, right? Because I really want everyone who's been coming every week to really get, like, it's natural to feel a little unmoored in the beginning, right? Like, I don't know how to do this. And you get drawn into Steve Chandler's work, and then you might find me and you might be like, Terita was like, okay, so I'm trying to serve. What does that really mean? Like, and then when does money come in? And how do I work this, right? Like, and Terita, one of the things I want to say about Terita, and part of the reason I asked her to be here today, is because Terita really was such an incredible example of, I'm going to get on the court, I'm going to get messy. Even if I don't know what the heck I'm doing, I'm going to, like, get messy. If there had been a CFJ Coaching Success School show, she would have been there, like a lot of you are, every week. Terita was like, she would have had 15 questions. She would have been like, what about this? What about that? She was really courageous in her willingness to be messy, even though it felt really uncomfortable. So are you willing to share about, like, what happened in your first full year, both in terms of your earnings, but also, like, the confidence that started to come?
Yeah. So prior to CFJ, I only made $20,000. The first year of CFJ, I had 100K in billings. So I had already replaced my income. And I came from corporate, so I thought, like, oh, corporate background, HR, getting clients would be easy. It was not that. And I came back the second year and I doubled my income.
Yeah.
So I literally did everything they told me to do. I didn't think twice about it. I didn't question it. I saw them as guides, as teachers, as Carolyn's been in this game for 15 plus years. Let me just run the experiment and see what happens. I was at a place where I needed it to work for me. We can be interested or committed, and I was fully committed. So after we would have weekends, I would take everything I learned in the weekend and I would start the emails. I would start running whatever process they put us through, I would try it out on clients and report back. Oh, this worked, this didn't work. I felt uncomfortable. What should I do? Like, I was on the court.
She really was. And I want to say that because it's not about, like, you can all be on the court. It's not about the school. It's about getting on the court in general. So I just had a coaching call this morning with a coach, and she shared with me that, she really maybe was making 1 or 2 invitations a month, maybe. And it's funny, right? There's something that goes on in the brain of a coach, myself included, where we kind of go, well, would that be why I'm not getting clients? Like, would that really be why, right? Like, and it's not that, I mean, Terita's a great example of someone who takes enormous amounts of action. Like she's really built for that. And so I want to be sensitive to, a lot of us aren't built like Terita, right? Like we're not saying, and Terita would never say to a coach, oh, you should do it like I did it. But Terita was relentless. And whether she was on the court 40 hours a week, or if she had been on the court 10 hours a week, those 10 hours would have been relentless, right? It's like, it's not about the amount of time you have to build your practice. It's like, how are you using those hours? How are you using those hours? Terita, I'd love it if you share the story. Remember, like you were sort of uncomfortable for a while about what am I doing when I connect? Remember, you were like, I'm not clear about like, how do I do that? And what changed? Like what helped?
Well, I noticed for me, connecting, especially from a coaching and business perspective, was difficult because I kept thinking, oh, they think I'm selling them, or they won't like me, or they think I'm going to ask them for money. So all these thoughts would get in the way of me just doing something as simple as having a conversation with someone. And what I got from the school was, if I'm in the long game of coaching, meaning that this isn't something I'm just trying out for 2 months, I'm really committed, I'm going to have to be in conversation with people. It's a part of the job requirement. And the more that I can just relax and get curious and ask someone face to face, how are things going in your life? Tell me more. Because if we really slow down, people are telling us their problems all the time, right? If we listen, they're always telling us, right? And you've said this, it's so rare that people feel fully seen and heard. So what's stopping me from fully seeing someone? Dollar signs, wanting to make it happen, right? All the things. So the more I could relax that, the more I felt confident in the action I took, sending enrollment emails, getting in conversation, coaching people. I could start to relax in the actual conversation and serve versus being tied to where the conversation was going.
Yeah. I remember you in the school, I think it was last year, where you were like, because before COVID, Terita had a social life where she went places and hung out with people. And I remember when she came to the school one weekend and she was like, oh my God, like I could actually serve people at restaurants where I'm hanging out waiting to have dinner with someone. Like the light bulb went on that was like, I love when you said, people are always telling us their problems. They're always telling us their problems. And I think that's really important for all of us to hear, right? They always are, whether it's in an email, whether it's in a call, whether it's like I'm standing next to someone 6 feet apart online waiting for something. There's always an opportunity. Terita, can you talk about the complimentary events? Like what's the first one you did? Do you remember doing one?
Yes, I do.
What did you do?
So I took a process that we did in school. I think it was the money one actually. So, and we had to do this process of what do you think about money and what are all the, like what words come to mind when we hold money? And I just posted it online and I thought people were gonna come and no one had registered. I got in the school like, hey, nothing's happening. Oh, I needed to personally invite people. So, and when she said enrolling, like, I am built for action. I was sending probably 30 invitations a week. So that's a lot for some people, but I had the stamina for it. So I would invite everyone and I would do personalized messages and people would respond back, thank you for thinking of me, or it's like, it's so simple, it's crazy, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah,
I think we try to make it more complicated, right? Like it can be that simple that Terita would write to people and say, hey, I know, like, come to this.
Right, I want you in the room. I think what you would bring would be fantastic. Let me know if you're in, totally okay if not. It would make people come because Terita asked me to come. It works on so many ways. And there's people here who I think you should meet.
I love that.
They loved it. So the first one, it actually went pretty well. And I practiced with people in the school. I asked Carolyn all my questions, and when I was in front of the room, I did my best not to visibly freak out.
Right. And that's the good news, right? Because I bet, Terita, now you know something that you might not have known then. And this is for all of us. when we're doing those things, we're much more aware of our own, like, am I doing okay? Do I look okay? It's like that we can really relax, that the majority of people are like, wow, she's really got it together, right? Like, so that's something, and I offer that, I wanted Terita to share because she's done many more complimentary events since then, but that it can be a great way to create some momentum, some connection. It's like having something to invite someone to is everything. Michelle loved having something to invite someone to. She's like, oh, we're doing a complimentary event. I can invite anyone.
Yeah.
So we have a question, and maybe Terita, you'd be willing to answer it. I'm finding it challenging to know when to be a friend and just listen without thinking, oh, I could coach this person, and also putting my coaching hat on. I know the saying, clients are everywhere, but I just feel smarmy sometimes listening to people who are just sharing and thinking, oh, they could be a client.
Yeah.
Pam, that happened? Yeah.
Totally has happened to me. And for me, I had to develop a stronger professional self. So for instance, I don't coach my friends. That's not a conversation that I'm in. My friendships are just for that. Now, if someone's sharing with me and I think they could be a client, I'm just going to listen more and I'll ask questions like, wow, what's that like? And then I may say, you know, if you ever want to talk about this on a much deeper dive, let me know and we can set up some time. And then I stop talking. Like, just stop talking, because we want it to sit with the other person, and having it sit will tell you if it can potentially be a client, because you'll get really clear. Is this something that they want to work on? Are they a person who likes to take action? Maybe they aren't ready yet. We're putting it out there and we're letting them decide what to do with it. And sometimes it's okay not to do anything, but the invitation is still there.
That's right. So I want to expand on what Terita just said. So when Terita says, I don't coach friends, she's saying that she has an inner circle of friends that are essentially off limits, just like I do. So I have friends, it's like, that doesn't mean we might not coach each other as friends, but they're not clients. Now, there are people who are outside the inner circle, maybe 2 steps away, Pamela, where it might be like, you know, we're friendly, but they're not my inner circle. Now, if I know Terita, she's like, if they're 2 rings out and they're saying something to me and we're out with other friends having coffee and I go, oh, maybe I could help them. She's not going to shy away.
Yeah, no.
Right. So right. She's not going to shy away. She might have earlier, but now she's like, no, because if I can help this person, I'm going to offer it, and they get the option to say no. They get the option to say no. Now, the other thing to be aware of, Pamela, is that that's the thing. You have to decide if someone's a close friend, then to me, like Terita, mine are off limits. Like if they're my inner circle, but I've had people in my inner circle do groups. I have some really good, long-standing friends who have come to my school. And I'm okay with that because there's other faculty who are serving them, and it's a different context. So I might offer a good friend an option to come to the school, but I would never offer one-on-one. That just wouldn't feel good to me. So for you, Pamela, it might be like, where is this, when you say you have a friend, where are they? Like what circle are they in? Mm-hmm. So I want to open it up a little bit, right? Because, oh, Brianna, did you see what she wrote, Terita? My friend circles aren't neat and tidy like that.
Yeah. And I think that's you can play around with it. The best part about being a coach is that I was thinking this the first year. Everything they tell us, I'm going to have to do at least 50 times, right? Like invite someone to conversation, send an enrollment email. And 50 is a small number. If we really consider it, like, Carolyn, how many emails have you sent? Probably hundreds of thousands, right? Yep. So it's good to have perspective. Like, how many people can I just get in conversation with? How many people can I invite? And the more that, it's not something you figure out, you start to learn your way through. And oftentimes I find new coaches are trying to figure it out versus just running the experiment and seeing how it goes. Let me try this friend group. All right, maybe I can use my connections to meet this person. We don't know how it's going to occur. It's just taking the action.
That's right. So Brianna, I want to know, you can tell us, is that helpful to hear what Terita is saying? She's like, run some experiments, right? Like you might know the people who are super close, who you know you'd be unwilling to coach, but maybe there's someone that's a little closer that you could try it and you'll know. And what's great about people most of the time, if people are like, I don't want you to coach me, you're my friend, they're going to tell us. You know, they're like, that doesn't work for me, right? You know, in some version, even if it's not as direct, they're going to let us know in some way. So one of the things I wanted to share, oh, okay, Mary, we have a good question for Terita, but I want to talk about this first. Most coaches do everything they can to avoid actually being in conversation with anybody. Okay. So that means like we avoid getting into connection. We avoid sending emails. We avoid the things because it feels uncomfortable, right? Like, you know, Steve Chandler had all these jokes about like, if you were to do a log of your day and everything you did, you wrote down. Most coaches, the amount of time they spend either like sending emails, creating connections, or in conversation is very little in the course of a day. So it's something for you to play with and kind of look at, well, how am I spending my day? When I'm in coaching business time, what am I doing? Mary Gallagher is asking you a question, Terita. I'd love to hear each of us answer, what is coaching? You want me to go first?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Alex Dumas, you're here. Awesome. Yes, got to get the jersey dirty and be on the field. I love that. That is exactly how I see it. To me, coaching is about helping someone create their future. That's what coaching is. Now, given my training, can it also include unpacking some things from the past and getting free of them? Absolutely. And coaching is really the distinction between coaching and therapy is coaching is about creating your future. Therapy is more about healing your past. And obviously for many of us as coaches, there's a range in there, right? Terita now, I'm sure with many of the corporate people she's serving, she's helping them look at the decisions they made in the past that are influencing how they're seeing things today. So you got to kind of sometimes go back there to be able to create the future. But that's how I define coaching. What about you, Terita?
I'd say the same thing in helping someone create the life that they want right now. A lot of issues that I think people have is that they tend to be mired to one perspective. Like we can never see our own stuff. It's really easy for someone else to see it. And our job as coaches is to support people in doing what they know they can do. But they have fear or they are anxious or they don't see it as a possibility. We get to shine a flashlight on someone. And we can't take our clients further than we've gone. So I can't help someone in dealing with their own level of discomfort if I haven't felt uncomfortable, if I haven't worked through it, right? Which is just, it's like the only profession where you get paid to be yourself. And the more that you work on yourself, you grow yourself, I find building a coaching practice, it can be like a spiritual experience, like, oh my God, I gotta get real brave today, right? So then I can support someone else who's walking a completely different circumstance, but needs a similar quality.
I think that what you just said was really fabulous, Terita. Like that idea that like, how am I gonna get courageous today? Even if the person I'm serving is in a very different situation, but they need that same quality that I needed in this other situation. And really what Terita is speaking to, which I love, is the idea that our whole lives become part of serving, right?
Yes.
Like, you know, some of you know my dad passed away last year, right? And my whole perspective on life changed, and the way I could serve people deepened again. It deepened again, having walked through the loss of my father. So it's good to be in a profession that requires and really makes us better when we continue to learn and grow, right? That Terita's like, and Terita is very committed to that. Like she is on the court. She's not only in the school, she has her own coach. She is, when something in personal growth looks interesting to her and speaks to her, she's going. I mean, we laugh. I'm like, where is she now? What is she doing now? So that's important too. All of it matters. The books, Terita reads a lot, videos. She's all in. She's been all in since I met her, and that's to me has been inspiring, right? Serving someone like Terita in the school has been super inspiring because she's all in. And I want to be clear, that doesn't mean you can't be all in. as a part-time coach. You were just quoted, Terita. Eric Woodard just made your phrase a quote. Eric's going to be in the school next year.
Yay!
Yeah. So Alex, what has been helpful for you coaching others who are more successful than you are? All right, so I'll share and then you can share, Terita.
Okay, sounds great.
You know, for me, I think it's important, Alex. Like success, there's lots of success. So while someone might look more financially successful than me, I don't necessarily make that mean they're more successful than me, right? Because I have done lots of deep work in my life. So I'm really clear, like if someone can have a bigger house than me, they can have nicer cars, that doesn't mean that they're more successful than me. There's still something I have to offer them, or they wouldn't be sitting in front of me. And I remember when I wasn't living where I'm living now. I was in a smaller house. It was like a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. And I coached people. I didn't have an office. It was at my kitchen table. So my husband had to be at work. Our daughter was at preschool. And I was like, and I remember somebody was coming to meet with me who was kind of a big shot. And I remember saying to my coach, Steve Chandler, like, oh, this feels weird. Am I really going to have them meet with me at my kitchen table? That feels like, and he was like, absolutely. You know why? He's like, because people who look like they're really successful often want things to be simpler. And them walking into your home and seeing what you're doing with the way you show up, they're going to be like, I want what she has. I want what she has, because it's not about the outer, right? So as long as I got okay with, hey, this is my life and I love my life, and this is where I serve people. The moment I got okay with it, it changed everything. And I enrolled that person, by the way. What about for you, Terita? Because you've coached people who might look in certain ways more successful, or maybe further along in their corporate career.
Well, I think that was really big for me the first year in school. Like, I can't coach people on that level. And I was running a lot of, I'm young, I look young, I'm a person of color, most people in the field are older and white males. Like, I had a whole story around that. And most of my clients at that time were older white males. It's kind of interesting. But I actually brought this to my coach, and we did this process where she imagined me in a stand. And it was like, okay, the people you look up to, where are they? And I was like, oh, they're at the top. And she was like, well, where are you? And I'm like, well, I'm kind of in the middle. And she said, okay, and if the scale was worthiness or more deserving, where are they now? And I was like, well, we're all worthy. We're all deserving. And it just really evened the playing field. And I started noticing I was making success mean something about them and about me, which as a coach, we really want to clean that up, because people in their life are doing the same things. And we want to be a place where they can be themselves, they can be authentic, that they feel safe to explore who they are. And in order to do that, we have to be okay with who we are, what we bring to the table, how we can support. That's why the field is so great, because the more you get in tune with you, the better you can help support other people with creating the life that they want, creating their own sense of resourcefulness. And it takes practice. It takes talking to those people, getting in their world, seeing their issues as, okay, what am I making money mean? How am I defining success? It's all made up. We get to be the anchor that slows it down for them.
That's right. That's right. Very well said. All right, I'm going to read you a question, Terita, from Brianna. I don't think I spend enough time in conversation inviting others to conversation because I don't know what to say. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I would love to invite a woman to a conversation who joined my business Facebook group, and we connected back in January, had a coaching conversation just before she had a baby. Then I gave her space with her newborn, then reached out to say Happy Mother's Day, and she wrote back and opened up about how challenging it's been for her. I would love to invite her into another conversation, but my words all come out like ba, 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 blah, blah, which is great. All right, so I'm gonna respond, and then Terita's gonna respond. So someone, like, what an amazing thing. She's doing exactly what Terita said, right? Terita said, people will tell us their problems, right? They're gonna let us know what's going on, and she just did. So she opened up and said how challenging it's been. And having had a baby and a newborn, it's challenging. So, you know, if it were me, I would write back and I would just be like, wow, I really hear you. You know, I so admire that you are in the middle of newborn world and you're willing to tell me what's happening for you. And then I would say something like, look, I'm willing to carve out time to connect and to slow this down. And because you have a newborn, I'm willing to make it work on your timeline. So if you need to do 10 o'clock at night, I will make 10 o'clock at night work. If I want a client, I'm getting on the phone at 10 o'clock at night. Like, let me just tell everybody that. When I needed clients, oh, you can only meet with me on a weekend? I'm meeting with you on a weekend. Now, once my practice was full, I was like, I don't do clients on weekends. So, Brianna, this is perfect. Just say to her, like, I am willing to make time. I really hear you. And I'm also attaching a resource for you right now. It's a 2-minute video. You want to get her a resource that's small and that she can watch. No reading, because her eyes are probably all blurry. What would you do, Terita?
I would do the exact same thing. And the only thing I want to add is that one thing I really appreciate about the CFJ coaching school is that we learned how to connect and to craft emails. And it is an art, it is a job requirement. You have no idea how long it takes to really create something that people want to read, that they can connect with. And it takes a lot of slowing down to really acknowledge her for, wow, what must it be like to have a new baby, to put yourself in someone's shoes, to speak life into her, right? She's probably tired. Carolyn did all that. And not only do we get to draft it, but then Carolyn and Amber would read it and say, oh, you should say this. It was like school. Like, thank you. I didn't even see that.
That's hilarious. So Terita said something I thought that was really beautiful, that some of our work, whether we're in email or in conversation, is to speak life into people, right? That we want to speak life into people. Isn't that a great statement? So it's like, Brianna, you can speak life into her. So let us know, let Terita and I know in your comments if that was helpful, if you have some direction. All right, Gareth, I have a good list of contacts, many of whom I do not connect with regularly. What are some of the ways we can create the context for an invitation? All right, so I'm gonna say something and then Terita will share because she's had lots of contacts. The thing about when we have a list of contacts and we're not in touch with them regularly, it might be premature to throw invites at people, right? Because people are like, whoa, haven't talked to you in 5 years. Where are you? Like, you're coming in way hot. Like, this feels uncomfortable. It feels salesy, yucky. Bye-bye, not responding. So Gareth, you might want to start with just some reconnecting. And that can be like you pick 10 people out of that list. And it's like, let's say Terita was one of them. I'd be like, Terita, oh my gosh, it's been like 3 years since we spoke. I just came across your name and I want to see how you're doing. Like, how are you doing in this completion of the pandemic? I might ask 1 or 2 things, but it's a gentle reconnect. I'm not jumping into an invite. And I did that lots and lots where I came in way too hot and people sort of disappeared. So what about you, Terita? Because you did some of that, right?
I would do the same thing. And sometimes I would even say, hey, let's just jump on a call. I haven't talked to you in 5 years. What's new in your world? I want to know everything. I'll look at LinkedIn, people that I haven't seen since high school doing really great things. I'll send them a note. Wow, this was so impressive. What did that take? I just want to pick your brain. And then I'll show up on the call and ask questions. And then, I mean, one thing you have to consider is people see you as a coach. So the more that you can start to connect, the more you get in conversation, they'll start asking you, well, what do you think? It's like, oh, that's a great opportunity to invite someone.
Now, Terita, look, I think somebody said, oh my God, her energy, right, about you, Terita. Like, look, Terita's like, she's unique in this, right? And I love that. And I want to be clear. I always tell people, being a coach, you can be highly introverted. You can, Steve Chandler is a great example of that. He is not Mr. Let's do coffee a lot. You know, he's not into small talk even. He has a great story about some client said to a friend, you got to have this guy come work with your team. You have to have him come work with your team. So the guy got a hold of Steve and said, let's have lunch. And they went and had lunch. And then the person who had lunch with Steve called the client of Steve's and was like, why do you want me to work with this guy? Like, he's like drying paint. He's a good coach. And the client called Steve and was like, never have lunch again. You can never have lunch with people again. And Steve really started to see that lunch was not the best way he could serve people, right? Because Steve doesn't want to have small talk. Terita is someone who's like, she can make that happen and get it deeper. She can take lighter conversation and then start to move it. But that's not a requirement. It's like, you can be one coach who likes to connect with one person. You don't need to go out into the world a lot. You have to go out into the world some. You have to go out in the world some. So, okay, let's go to, so Gareth, hopefully that helps you to start to slow down and connect. All right, so we have some more questions. So Mary Gallagher is asking Terita, do you have favorite enrollment questions or processes? And what I mean by enrollment is the first conversation where you've said, would you like some help with that? And they said yes, and now you're in it. You're in the first enrollment conversation.
Yeah, I would ask people, so tell me what's going on. And we could do a gap conversation. We'll take a particular area of their life. Something like, if everything was working out how you always want it to be, what would we be seeing? What's in the way of making that happen? What fears keep you up at night? One time I asked someone, what don't you want me to know? But once again, that's like me. I would not, right? It depends on can you hold it. But most importantly, it's how you're being with people. Like listening deeply, slowing down, perspective checking, mirroring back, like, wow, I can hear how challenging that is. Sometimes I don't know what to ask. So then I'll just say, what else? And I'll stop talking. And I guarantee you they will talk, right? Like they will say something.
Yeah,
right?
So that's important.
You need to be seen.
Right, so Terita has learned to use silence. She has learned to use silence. And I don't think that was always the case, right, Terita? I don't think you would have done that 3 years ago right out of the gate.
Oh, no. I was a coach who was taking on having the breakthrough.
Oh.
Like, they need to see it. They haven't seen it yet, right? It was, the thing about having a lot of energy is when you misuse it, you go too hard. So I had to learn how to modulate, how to slow down, how to have more subtlety in conversations.
So that's powerful. That's powerful. So what Terita has done is like, so she's learned, and this is important, Mary, that like it's okay to say what else and let the person be in that silence. And even if it's uncomfortable, something will emerge from that. I want to reference something Terita said. She said the gap conversation. So the gap conversation is a tool that we teach at the university. I can't believe I was going to say that. We did teach it at the University of Santa Monica coaching program, which no longer exists. And now I teach it at the CFJ school. And it came out of work that Steve Chandler did with another coach whose name is Ron Wilder. And it was from the idea that if we don't take action on something, then we have what's called the default future, right? So let's say I'm talking to Terita, I'm in an enrollment conversation, and she's telling me how frustrated she is with her boss. And she's like, and we're having this conversation, and I said to her, so tell me something. What happens if you don't do anything? She's dabbling in, should I leave my job? I don't know. And I say to her, so what happens if you don't do anything? That can be a really powerful question to ask, right? Because what is the cost of not doing something? Meaning, are you okay staying? And she might say, well, if I don't do anything and I stay in this job, I'll be miserable, but it won't be horrible. Now, as the person listening, as the coach, I'm like, oh, this person may not be ready. They seem okay with miserable. And I might say, are you okay with miserable? Like, no, and I might say, hey, I'm okay if you're okay with miserable. I wouldn't be okay with miserable, right? So a gap conversation is a way to have that first conversation, Mary, where you map out someone's current life and you map out the life they wished they had. So it's a way to have that first enrollment conversation where you create I call it a pie or an island, and you map out their life and then you slowly bring them into their future. What do they wish their life was like? And it's a tool we teach at the school. It's a really fun way to have a first conversation. And for many new coaches, and I think Terita felt this way, it was like something she could hang her hat on.
Oh, it's like, this is you now.
Right.
When you say that, okay.
Right. And what I'm willing to do, like, I think next week, I'm willing to go into that a little bit further. We need a little more time because it's like if I'm going to introduce it here, I want to do it well so that you could use it. But it's just so you know, it's a way to map out the first conversation. You do it on a whiteboard. Whiteboards are amazing. If you don't have a whiteboard yet, you need to get one. I always joke with coaches, no, the whiteboard is the magic. Even if I don't know what I'm going to write on it, I'm going to write something, and that person who's listening is going to see their life on a whiteboard, even if it's one word. Even if it's one word. We have Devin Bandison watching, which is kind of fun. Thank you, Devin, who's a faculty member at the school. All right, wow, we got the questions rolling in now. Okay, so Mary Gallagher asks, after the first conversation, do you invite them to another one on that call? So what do you do, Terita? If you feel like there's something there.
I'll ask them, do you want to talk again? And then usually they'll say, yeah, great. It's just like, all right, great. How about we get it scheduled? And then I'll send them a resource and say, listen to it before our next call. Yeah.
Look at that.
Super easy.
Yeah, and what I appreciate, right, the way Terita is, she's relaxed. And what she's relaxed about is she's not trying to get them. She's not in the game anymore of I need this person, I need their money, I need, it's about me. Terita has really flipped all that. She has really converted herself from someone who didn't, in the beginning was like service, to someone who's like, I'm just here to serve. And there will always be someone I can serve and clients will come. So when she says, can we talk again? She really means it. She's fine either way.
Yep, absolutely.
Another question is, if we have time, another woman from my email list responded to a partner promotion I recently ran. I replied to her question and added one of my own, something about what's going on for her. What would she like more of? She replied, and then I replied acknowledging her desires and offered her a coaching conversation if that would support her. She responded very vaguely, not giving a yes or a no, but saying everything is good except work stress, and since she can't quit, there's nothing she can do. How can I respond without pushing, but still letting her know I can serve her? So here's what I might do. In that situation, first of all, Brianna, do you hear what I'm hearing? I know Terita's hearing it. It's called, I'm going to spell it for everyone. VICTIM. Victim.
Yes.
I can't quit. So what I might do with someone like that is, because she's already pushing back a little, I might write back and be like, I really hear you. If at any point you want to talk, we can do that. And I'm attaching an audio that I really want you to listen to. Are you willing to? And I would be attaching Victim Owner by the audio by Steve Chandler, which is an incredible resource that I use over and over. And Terita, how much do you use that?
All the time. And I would write, I encourage you to find yourself in here.
Ooh, look at that. I just got a good one from Terita. I encourage you to find yourself in here. So, and do you hear that? Like, it's not aggressive. It's not aggressive, right? And many coaches, myself included, there were times where I was too aggressive for people in my desire for them to get an awakening or to get a breakthrough.
Yeah.
And an email that's not going to work, especially if they're not your client yet. Mm-hmm. Especially if they're not your client yet. So, so Brianna, I hope that gives you some direction on that person. We only have like a minute left. So first of all, I know, was it fun? Liz Goldman, we're so glad you're here. So fun. I just want to, first of all, I have to acknowledge all of you for coming today. I want to acknowledge everyone for the great questions. I want to acknowledge you, Terita Preston. It's like one of my greatest joys in life that 3 years now, look what's happening. You're like a pro coming to the show, sharing who you are and what's happened for you. Like, did you ever think when we met, like, what was possible? And I'm not saying because of me, because of you.
No, I just knew whatever Carolyn had, I wanted some. It's like, I need that.
Yeah, and what I admire about Terita, and I offer this to all of you, that's part of our job as a coach. That when someone comes into our lives who can potentially help us, they have what we want, that's where we want to go. So you guys are all doing that, and you women are all doing that. And Terita, I thank you for coming today and sharing your wisdom and all the wins. And we will be back next week, and I will also be sharing this with lots and lots of people so they can all hear the magic of Terita Preston. And peace out. Have a beautiful day, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you, Terita.
Bye.
Bye.